What is a brand promise? Why is a brand promise important? And what are some brand promise examples? What is a brand promise? Put simply, a brand promise is how you will sell your what to your who. The who is your core customer, the customer who will buy from you for ideal profit or maximum profit because you're more accurately meeting their unique needs. The what is your unique product or service that aligns with your core competencies, where you can make a difference to that core customer, that who. And then the how is the brand promise. That is what you are promising that core customer that will make a difference, that is unique and measurable and meets that core customer's need. A brand promise is not a tagline. A tagline is a catchy phrase that sounds quirky or nice, and oftentimes doesn't really seem that relevant. The best example of a awful tagline that I've seen was an international logistics company that I was working with, where a marketing company presented to them their new tagline, which was "Your silver service bullet." Your silver service bullet. It doesn't say or mean anything at all. Your brand promise clearly explains how you will sell your what to your who. There are 5 key steps to uncovering your brand promise. You can't just come up with a brand promise and think, that sounds nice, that will help drive us more sales. This is not the age of madmen advertising on Madison Avenue. Today, we need to be authentic and genuine in the eyes of the customer. The 5 steps to uncovering your brand promise are: 1, your sandbox. So understand where you'll sell, what you'll sell, and the distribution channels that you will sell through. So have a good understanding of the sandbox in which you're going to play and the borders of that sandbox, the area where you're not going to step outside. Number 2 is identify your who. Who is the core customer that will buy for optimal profit? We recommend Bob Bloom's book, The Inside Advantage, and that is how we identify the core customer. Once you've uncovered your core customer, then step 3 is understand the needs, not wants, but the needs of that core customer. A customer will want you into bankruptcy. We need to deliver on their unique set of needs, and we must understand how that aligns with our core competencies, which leads us to step 4. Understand how you can deliver to meet these needs. What are the core competencies that you can deliver that around the product set that this core customer group needs, that will set you apart uniquely in the marketplace? And then determine your brand promise. How will you sell your what to the who? So if we reverse this, we say, what is it that we are promising that aligns with our core competencies and meets the core customer's needs to our core customer within our sandbox? That promise, it must be unique and measurable, and it must meet our core customer's need, or else it's a tagline, it isn't a brand promise. Getting the brand promise right is so important. That is one of the main keys to unlocking growth and profit. But why? Because without a brand promise, one is simply a commodity. Without something that differentiates you in the market, in the eyes of the customer, you're simply a commodity. Why is a brand promise important? Because if you try to be everything to everyone, you end up being nothing to no one. If you are trying to be everything to all of the customers that you can find, we'll sell you anything that you want, and you don't focus in to a profitable niche and then try to own that niche, you are going to be simply a commodity in the market. And if there is nothing different about you and you're simply trying to sell everything to everyone, what you're going to be doing is only competing on price. And when you only compete on price, the customer always wins, and wins in a bad way, because when you've got a number of companies that are only competing on price, it's a horrible race to the bottom for all of those parties. And then you not only won't be able to have a profitable business, but you won't be able to grow that business because you won't be able to create the working capital that's required to do that. Put yourself in the eyes of your customer. If they're not buying from you, then who or what or how leads them to a buying decision? What is it that gets a customer to that point? If a customer isn't buying from you, then who are they buying from and why? The purpose of a brand promise, the reason a brand promise is important, is it makes you unique, it makes you stand out, and it makes you stand for something in a world where authenticity and promises that are never kept is abundant. Let's take a look at a few brand promise examples. Firstly, Red Balloon, owned by Naomi Simpson from Australian Shark Tank fame, has built a company about gifting experience rather than gifting small products or trinkets that people don't really care about. She really believes in building a business around the gift that is experiences. In order to build her business and to provide a brand promise, Naomi started by setting her brand promise to be, number one, an easy to use website. Number two, recognizable packaging. So think about Tiffany's with the Tiffany blue. Red Balloon is all about red, and if you have ever seen Naomi, she's most probably wearing red. And number three was on-site support, ensuring that people were able to always get access to finding any problems that they had could be solved. But then one day, Naomi was at a party and she was speaking with a friend, and the friend said, "Oh, I know Red Balloon, I've heard of you guys. I love you guys because every time I want to book an experience, I go onto your website, it helps me to find what I want, and then I go on to that provider's website and I buy it through them." And of course, Naomi was devastated. She said that she wanted to really be the provider, but people were going on, having a look at what was available, and then going to the actual event place to do the booking. And she recognized that what was needed in this situation was a brand promise where they would provide the experience at the same price as the end user, because that's what the core customer really needed. They needed the selection, but also they needed to know that if I'm going to book through you, there's going to be no difference in price between you and booking with the end user. But brand promises aren't easy. Naomi had to employ a team to monitor all 2,000 of their gift experience providers to ensure that prices were always aligned between the website of Red Balloon and the end provider's offering. It's a bit like an iceberg. What you can see above the water of the iceberg is the brand promise, and then all of the work that needs to go into creating a brand promise around people or strategy or execution or cash or systems or processes. All of that delivers on the brand promise. But the brand promise helps to drive sales because you're meeting the core customer's needs in an authentic and measurable way. Let's look at number 2 brand promise example, which is Rackspace. Rackspace is a San Antonio based IT company, and they recognized that their core customer is a small to medium business owner who just wants IT to not be a headache anymore. They want to have their IT be out of the way. They want to get on with running their business. And Rackspace determined their brand promise. Number 1, the phone will be answered in 3 rings or less. Number 2, we will only transfer you to one other engineer. So when you ring up, and if the first person who answers the call can't solve the problem, they can only transfer it on to one other engineer because they know how frustrating it is getting passed from person to person to person. And then number 3 is that we will solve your problem in an hour. If they don't do those 3 things, then the call is free. You don't pay for it. Let's look at a third example. A local, small Perth plumbing business, G.A. Perry. Get it first time or get it free. So they know that their core customer is someone who is arranging a plumber or an electrician to come to their house, and they know that that person is probably taking time off work or staying home specifically for that reason, and therefore being on time is really, really important to them. So G.A. Perry commit to, we'll make an appointment with you, and if we don't meet that appointment, then it will be free. Again, they needed to build a whole range of systems and processes to be able to deliver on that, but without that, they're just another plumbing company or another electrical company. They know who their core customer is, who will pay a little bit extra to get you to come on time, and that's why they make that promise, and that's why they measure that promise. Another example is a recruitment firm whose brand promise is 14 days done. Within 14 days, they will have your candidate ready and interviewed, the one that you want to start, which is no mean feat. It's very, very difficult to start an engagement in recruiting and to have someone interviewed and ready within 14 days. But they know that people will pay more for that, and they know how important that is to customers. So they will move mountains to get that done. How about FedEx? When it absolutely, positively has to be there overnight. That is an example of a brand promise. It's unique, it's measurable, and at the time it met the core customer's need because they were competing at the time with the Postal Service, who were notoriously slow. They knew that people, select small group of people, would pay a lot more to get their mail or their parcel delivered overnight, and they built a whole industry around that. We've got Walmart, which is always low prices, always. We know the core customer of Walmart is a rural person who doesn't want to pay too much, and we know what they need is to have low prices on everything within the store. That's what they deliver on consistently and everywhere, and obviously what they're famous for. And that's the thing, a brand promise has to not only connect to your core customer, but it has to connect all of the other parts of your strategy, such as profit per X, core purpose, core values even, in a manner that is logical. Finally, we have Fast Cat Ferries. Fast Cat Ferries brand promise is ferry safe, ferry fast, and ferry convenient. But lead brand promise, ferry safe, came about because there were a number of ferry disasters around the world, and Fast Cat Ferries wanted to make the commitment that they are going above and beyond. But you can't just say ferry safe. It's got to be unique, it's got to be measurable, and it's got to meet the core customer's need. So to make their ferries safer, they needed to improve systems and processes and a whole range of things. Here are the 4 things that tell you that your brand promise is right, that you've got the brand promise. Number 1, it's different in the marketplace. So no one else is offering it, and it's something that only you can promise, and it aligns with your core competencies. Number 2, it's helping the sales team to close. When the sales team go out there, they're finding that using the brand promise is getting them to close the deals quicker and a higher conversion rate. Number 3, it's getting the sales team and the delivery or operations team more closely aligned to deliver the same outcome. So they are both focused on getting the same number, which is the brand promise, kept promise indicator or KPI, to be completed. And then number 4, it helps to guide decision making around services and products. So as you think to introduce or change products or services, delivering consistently that brand promise and helping to meet that core customer's need is front of mind. That's when you know that you've got the brand promise right, that you've nailed it. What's the lifespan of a brand promise? We know that a big, hairy, audacious goal is 10 to 30 years, but how long should a brand promise last? Well, a brand promise should last until it stops working. When your brand promise is not helping customers to buy, when it's not helping the sales team to close deals, then it's time to get a new brand promise. When your brand promise is not unique in the marketplace, if others are copying, then it's been made redundant. All brand promises will revert to a commodity. And so one needs to build a brand promise that meets the core customer's needs and is unique today. And then when the sales team aren't enjoying the benefits of that brand promise, despite the amount of work that went into it, so once it isn't helping the sales team to close, it's time to get rid of that brand promise. Once it's not unique and you begin to see similar things in the marketplace, it's time to look for the next brand promise. There are some examples of brand promise, why a brand promise is important, and what is a brand promise. Be sure to take a look at my Scaling Up School, where I walk you through how to build your brand promise and also how to build all of the Scaling Up tools, the one-page plan, a whole range of things. Be sure to subscribe to this channel and take a look at my website. Thanks for watching.